Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. What I'm sharing with you today is really about a little bit of politics amongst the Bloods. The Bloods and Crips, they originated out of California. And through the course of time, the gang, the Bloods, the Crips, they have all spread out all through the United States, from New York and everything and every place in between. When you come to the feds, though, if you're a Blood or a Crip outside of California, them dudes that come from out of California really don't embrace you for whatever reason. Sometimes they feel like your hood wasn't sanctioned to be a Blood or a Crip. And, you being out there as a kid or whatever, a lot of these kids, they're impressionable. They hear about Bloods and they hear about Crips. And, they're out in the streets running around and doing whatever they do. So they adopt some of the names that they've heard. And sometimes these dudes out of California branch out to different states and stuff and start their own hood. But when you come to the feds, like I said, if you're not from California, they really don't recognize you and they really don't embrace you. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to respect you as a man if you're one of them dudes that's deserving of respect. If you're one of them dudes that's demanding respect. The story I'm sharing with you today, we're in bloody Beaumont, but I have to take you back all the way to Lompoc because that's where it all transpired from. They had a Blood dude out of Oregon. He was big. He was about 6'5", 240 plus. But he was more of a pimp than a Blood. But he came on the line saying he was Blood. But through the course of his time in Lompoc, he never really functioned with the California dudes because, like I said, they really didn't embrace him, and he understood the friction and the lack of acceptance. But he spent most of his time jiving with a few other pimps. So while we was in Victorville, that all came into a head. He got into one of the Blood dudes from California, Smiley. They got into the kitchen. But the repercussion of that, he had another homie that was from Portland. So when he got into it with Smiley in the kitchen, the California Crip went and hit his other homeboy that was from Portland. So we're all sitting in the shoe together. But I know P. His name is P, Pimp. And he was cool. He just did his thing. He hustled. From that time that I knew him, he was a man. And when he got into a confrontation, he handled it. So we're all sitting in Victorville waiting to go to bloody Beaumont. Well, he goes to bloody Beaumont before I get there. So when I get up there to bloody Beaumont a few months later, somehow he had the yard for all the Bloods in bloody Beaumont. And from the Pimp P that I knew in Lompoc, in Victorville, it wasn't the same as the one that I ran into in bloody Beaumont. In bloody Beaumont, he was walking around with his chest up, flexing, and it was just a whole different demeanor. Like I said, when we was in Lompoc and Victorville, he was more pimp than Blood. But when I got to bloody Beaumont, he was all Blood. And he was on gang time and he had the keys. So it kind of baffled me a little bit because, I ran into people like that before and things don't ever really pan out for them in the end. So through the course of the time that I was there, they had the homie from California, Wack, that came on the line. And Wack's from Bloodline. If anybody know anything about the Blood gang, they know a Bloodline. When you sign up the Bloodline, it's a little bit different. Wack's older brother is Ice Bomb. I was in Lompoc and Victorville with Ice Bomb. He started the bloodline. So when Wack get on the line, there's a issue about, who's gonna claim who's got the yard. So anyway, P, he sends 3 or 4 East Coast dudes, because in Beaumont there was a lot of East Coast bloods, a lot of bloods from the East Coast, from New York and out from that way. And I'm not taking anything away from them dudes. Like I said, everybody in Bloody Beaumont went hard. Every race, every respective car, every gang. Now everybody was with the funk. So when Wack got on the line, Wax being from California, he really didn't understand and couldn't see how this dude over here has got the keys for the blood gang. But all them dudes from New York and all the ones that was already in Beaumont, when you get to Beaumont, it's not a lot of California dudes. Like everywhere you go, different prisons throughout the United States, you're gonna get, the people that's from around there, and then a little bit of people from different areas. So I don't know the conversations that went on between Pete and all the blood members over there in Beaumont, but he ended up with the keys. So when Wack got on there, he put a hit on Wack. He sent 4 or 5 blood dudes to go try to check in Wack. And Wack, he ain't no small dude. He was my neighbor. He was like, I gotta say about 6'5", black as a motherfucker, but a big old dude. So when they came in, he was downstairs and they tried to pull a knife on Wack and told him, hey, you gotta run up top. But Wack's a gangster. Shit. He's a bloodline. Him and his brothers the one that started that shit. And he ended up fighting them right there in front of the counsel's office. So I wasn't in the unit when it happened. So when that happened, they took Wack, locked him up, took them other dudes and locked them up. And now the blood are politicking, because you got some dude that, I don't take nothing away from Pete, but he wasn't that dude that he was trying to portray when he was in Bloody Beaumont. He was a cool dude. He went when it was time to go, when he was in Victorville. And until this time, from all the time that I know him, I don't know him to be a buster or nothing like that. But like I said, he wasn't exactly who he was trying to portray himself to be. So when this incident happened, all the bloods got together and they politicked. And when they politicked, they decided that, well, P gotta go. Because one, there was no reason for him to put the hit on Wack. If he had an issue with Wack about who's gonna run the yard, he's supposed to win, took that up with Wack, instead of saying these youngsters that are impressionable, that don't really know the politics or the structure of the gang, on a mission to try to hit dude. So we got locked down for a little bit over the first incident. So when we came out, the bloods politic, and I guess Pete ended up smelling that he was next on the chopping block. And like I said, for all the way leading up to this time, I had respect for dude, because he always been himself and he did what he did. And when he had a confrontation, he dealt with it. But when they sent the bloods to go get him, he ended up checking in. He slipped out the unit, went and rang the doorbell. Not a literal doorbell, but we call it shake the gate. Went and shake the gate in front of the lieutenant's office and told SIS to lock him up for his own safety. In our environment, it ain't how you start, it's how you end up. So no matter how G he was from the time I met him, we was in Long Park in Victorville, at the end of the day, he ran. He didn't face the music. And it's a mark off his character because when we was in Bloody Beaumont, he was trying to portray that he was this type of OG blood. If he would have just been who he was and end up shaking the gate, maybe it wouldn't, my respect or my opinion of him wouldn't be so downgraded, because I would have been like, yeah, he was just who he was. He stayed in his lane, and yeah, the situation got a little hairy for him. But when we got to Bloody Beaumont, he was, he was betraying that he was that dude that was about that business. And through the course of the time until this incident, he had the yard for the Bloods in Beaumont, and he put out hits on dudes for whatever their politics was going on over there. But at the end of the day, he went and shook that gate and got exposed. The moral of this story is just, you can't fake who you are, man. I always try to tell people, like, actors, they get paid millions of dollars to act, to be in movies, because acting is not easy. And you can only keep up a character, a charade, for so long. When someone sit around you long enough, your true self's gonna come out. You have to be able to get to a point in your life where you're confident in who you are. Because no matter where you are, everybody can't fight. Everybody's not a killer. But all that's not expected of you. If you're who you are, people around you is going to be able to evaluate you for your true self and make a decision if they still want to be your friend or not, and accept you for that. But when you try to portray that you're somebody else and a time comes and you get exposed, then people like me and others, we feel offended, like, man, you just a fake ass dude from the very beginning, sitting over here woofing. And in the penitentiary, everything follows you. There is no secret. So whatever yard you go to, your reputation is going to be this. Man, that dude ain't about shit. Yeah, he big, he this, he run his fucking mouth, but at the end of the day, he's going to tuck his tail. I mean, some people are okay with living with that reputation, but a lot of us in this life aren't. All we have is our integrity and who we are. So, yeah, you got to be yourself. You got to be who you are, because every single time you're going to get tested and you're going to get exposed. Welcome to the USP. Thanks you for tuning in. See you guys next time.